Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast, and today I'm excited for you to meet Jenny Roth. She is a copywriter for female founders who want to trade traditional marketing tactics for relationship, honest, fire sales copy that people trust, love to read, and buy from. And definitely that relationship part is how we connected as well. I was getting her emails for quite some time. We connected then and were able to have a chat. And just, I think you'll find as you get to hear this episode, just the authenticity Jenny brings to her work, just from who she is as a person. And, you know, part of what she believes is that good copy needs to do more than just make sales. It really has to leave the people around you feeling confident and excited to know you and work with you. And so thank you so much, Jenny, for joining us today.
Oh, hi, Daniela. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm glad to be here.
So can you share a little bit more about what brought you into this field? How did you end up kind of narrowing down working specifically with female founders, copywriting, and relationships?
Yeah, of course. I'd love to. So I started out, I guess, like if you want to go way back, my husband and I had 3 little girls kind of right in a row within 4 years. And I became a stay-at-home mom because we were very young and, I graduated college and was working and all those things, but I wasn't like, I was like, I love my career. I can't leave it. Like I wasn't at that phase of life yet. And so decided to stay home with them, and everyone got and was blessed to stay home with them, and everyone started to get a little bit older, sleeping through the night, all those things. And I had pockets of time in my day, and I was like, I remember very vividly like cleaning my house or scrolling Facebook and just thinking like, even if I have 20 minutes to myself when I'm not like full on mom mode during the day, I've got to use that time and for something. And kind of like the rules I put on it, where I want that time to be I want it to be something that can help people. I want it to be something I can make money from home because I'm at home with my kids, and I want it to be something that I really love doing. And I kind of like made this list. I remember making the handwritten list, and writing was at the top of that. I could do that from home, always kind of good at it at school. I could maybe use it to make a little extra income for my family. And so I started pitching myself to local magazines. As a writer, I landed a job for one, and then I quickly moved up to being the editor of that magazine, and they let me do it all from home other than traveling to interviews and stuff. And I was interviewing a lot of local businesses while I was doing this. And we would like go into a business that I had known, for years, but I didn't know like the story of the business owner, like how they got to where they were, the decisions they made, the struggles they overcame, all of those things. And I would just be like fascinated. Like I walk by this building, this business like every week, and I don't know this story. Like this is crazy. So we would write these stories in the magazine about local businesses, and they would write back to us like thank you letters and say, thank you so much. We've seen an uptick in traffic to the store since your article came out, or we've had more customers complimenting us since we read your story. And I kind of was like, wow, this writing can help businesses. I was raised by entrepreneurs, and that really meant a lot to me. And so fast forward, people started asking me to write more things other than magazine articles. I realized it was copywriting, and I dove all in to learn everything I could. And I did it part-time for a lot of years when my kids are small. And now I've had a copywriting business for almost 5 years, working from home when my kids are in school.
And that's going to have its own level of balance as well. And I know I talk a lot about work-life balance. Can you share a little bit about just even your own personal strategies of how you do manage that? Because I know I have a lot of listeners who, are either entrepreneurs or have young kids and are just feeling that pull of, I don't even know how to manage it all.
Oh yeah. I wish I had like such a good answer for this. My kids are middle school to high school now, and what I will tell everyone
Mhm.
listening is that it's a lot easier when they were littler, but it's still so hard. I feel like finding that balance for me is like a every week I kind of have to sit down on Sunday night and look at the week and figure it out new. And when
Yeah.
they were small, it was really hard. And I think I did so many things. If I could go back in time, I would have been um, more gentle with myself and like, gotten more help watching the girls and taken on a little bit less at work versus like pushing so hard in both areas of my life. Um, but you live and learn and you don't know. But I think finding that balance is really hard. And I think one thing that has really helped me in the last year is just taking an honest look at like everything I'm trying to do and maybe realizing like there's a lot of things on that list, but always coming back to like what actually needs to be done, what's actually the most important to me right now, and just giving myself a lot of grace for what I can realistically get done. I think I used to give myself the expectation of like a full-time working, full-time person who doesn't have kids and a full-time mom who doesn't work. And that's just like, I mean, yeah, it doesn't work that way.
No, I appreciate your honesty on that, Jenny, so much because I think we do set ourselves up sometimes with, we're driven individuals, we're passionate about what we're doing, we have high expectations in both areas. And it really is hard. And I love that you talk about grace because that's something I always believe in integrating as well. So thank you for sharing that. So back to the business part of sides, then, when you're working with businesses, I know even I've felt this way sometimes where it can be hard to be vulnerable. It can be hard to share that story. It can be hard to know how much personal do I need to expose, especially maybe if you're a private person or not always comfortable doing that. How do you help businesses get comfortable, maybe sharing a little bit more of themselves and that personal part of it to make those relationships in a way that doesn't feel like they're kind of compromising their comfort?
Yeah, I love this question, and it comes up a lot, right? So I'll often like I just was speaking to like a leadership coach, and she was like, I've worked for so many bad leaders like in her corporate career. She's like, I've had so many terrible bosses, and I know that if I shared these stories about what bad leadership looks like, my clients would resonate with that because like we've all been there. She's like, but I just do not feel good like coming out here like sharing all these bad stories like bad leadership. She's like, I don't know what to do because I feel like I'm supposed to do that though to like connect with people. And we had this conversation, and I really feel like if your instinct is telling you that you don't want to do that, then don't. There's like other ways that you can share your story in a way that still feels good to you. So what we kind of came up with her was we're like, well, what about the leadership stories or like the leaders that you know and admire, even if you never worked for them? Like, who are those people you admire? Can you share what they're doing right? Can you share like your own leadership journey? Like, what did you learn this week? What did you do well this week? Like your wins and learns and everything in between. So we kind of like came up with different story angles that she can use to share her own story. Another one was like how she helped her clients this week, like overcome a leadership challenge or achieve a win in this, niche of leadership. So we kind of like dove in to say like, okay, we know we don't want to share too much of our heart over here that doesn't feel good, but we still want to make a personal connection. How can we do that? And I guess what I will say is it's easier for me as a writer to come in and like see the golden threads in people's story, right? And see the really incredible parts of their story that maybe they recognize as ordinary because they're so close to it, right? So I guess that's a kind of
Yeah.
an advantage of working with a coach or a writer or a colleague who can come in and be like, no, like that's not ordinary. That's an extraordinary part of your story. Like we need, like, let's talk about this more. So I think getting support from outside eyes who can come in and really help you feel confident in your story and find the angles that you want to share is always helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you talk about those golden threads. So many times we think our lives are boring. No one's interested.
Mhm.
Or they also say too, that area that's your zone of genius, because it comes so naturally, you don't realize how extraordinary that is to somebody who isn't familiar with that, who doesn't practice those types of things on a daily basis and those types of things. So being able to have that relationship and collaborate with people, just even in your own personal growth, business growth, is probably so key.
Yeah, totally. And one other thing I was just thinking too, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think
No,
this is
oh my
important.
gosh.
I think this is important too. Like there's parts of my story that I've always been so afraid to share. Like I live in a small town of literally 200 people in the Midwest, right? And so I was a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling mom of three. Like I get nervous to share those parts of my story because I think people will automatically think things about me, about my beliefs or the kind of person I am based on where I live and parts of my story. But the beautiful thing is a lot of the connections I made with clients and collaborations and partners have been people who are drawn to me because of those parts of my story that I'm afraid to share, because I grew up in a small town, because I was, raised in a farming community, because of like my motherhood and my thoughts on motherhood and things like that. So it's kind of been little glimmers to me too of like these parts of you that you feel no one will relate to are oftentimes the things that you'll find people connect with the most.
Yeah, not only those personal things, but I've heard two polarizing things that we might be afraid to share because of the nature of some of it
Yeah.
can also be very key when it comes to drawing in the right kind of people.
Yeah, I think so too.
Are there any kind of like, I don't know if this is a bad way to put it, but like do's or don'ts when it comes to trying to create those relationships? Definitely I've gotten my share of cold, spammy DMs, where like they're instantly like, hey, great to meet you. What can I sell you? Those types of things. But, outside
Yeah.
of hopefully what I would think is obvious, even though obviously to those people it's not obvious, what other kinds of things would you say people should either kind of sway from or gravitate more towards?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So in building relationships, I think one thing that has helped me is to kind of go into it with like a really open heart of like and genuinely wanting to be in community with the person you're pitching or wanting to collaborate with or writing to and you work with whatever, right? And so when I will like reach out to copywriting clients or in my own copy, when I'm writing, I will think of like my ideal client who I'm writing to and, kind of coming at it, not with the energy of like, what can I get out of this? Like, what's in it for me? I hope I nail this, big whatever. It's more like hey, I genuinely love what you do and think it's so cool. This is who I am and what I do. Do you want to connect? Can I help? Kind of coming at it that way has helped me a lot. And always thinking about what I can give too, right? So it's like I can help this business owner in this way and like just really being not afraid to share that like in your copy or when you talk about your offers or when you pitch something, kind of coming at it with that energy of like, I really think I can help this person's audience or I really think I can help this person with my offers and just kind of coming at it. Yeah, I guess kind of from that angle of like, I love what you do. I really would love to help you out. Like that kind of energy has been really helpful for me.
Okay. So, is there one specific place you typically start with somebody when you're working with them? Because it can be hard, it can feel overwhelming to kind of be like, I don't know where to begin. There's so many pieces to what I do. What would be one place someone who's listening right now would kind of focus on if they were starting that process?
Yeah, so like starting their process of like writing their copy and figuring out their messaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I think a really good place that I often start is talking about your ideal client. Because when things get and knowing who that ideal client is on a really personal and deep level, because when writing feels hard or you feel like you don't know what you want to say or you're not sure how to position your words, oftentimes you can come back and imagine that ideal client, right? That one, like just imagine one person that you would love to work with or that you worked with once and you would take a million clients just like them because they were just perfect for your offers. Picture that person, know them, know what they want, know what they're going through, know how you can help them, know how you can help them overcome challenges, and write your copy to that person. So when I work with clients, we do a ton of market research to know their ideal client and a lot of like strategy and messaging around that. And if you feel like you don't know your ideal client, like I said, market research, you've got to go out there and ask questions. And we can talk more about that market research part if you'd like, but it starts with your who you're writing to.
Yeah, and definitely I would love to dive into that market research part more because I think that can be intimidating intimidating for people to even know where to begin or to understand. It's, I've even had my own limiting beliefs. Like, I feel like I'm bothering people to get that information, but that's so not the case. But can you talk to some of that as well?
Yeah, of course. And we can put in the show notes too. I have it's like a free guide, like my process for doing market research as a copywriter and like what questions to ask. And it goes through like how to reach out to for market research. Like it gives you an email template, all those things. We can link to that if people want to like dive in more slowly. Yeah. But for me, market research starts. Look at your discovery calls or sales calls, your new client intake forms or applications, things like that will be full of messaging for you because you can really see where your ideal clients, what they're thinking and saying and expressing and wanting when they come to you, right? When they still have the challenge. A lot of people start with testimonials, which is a good thing to look at too, but we also want to back it up and see the before, right? And so looking at that, testimonials, reviews, looking at your competitors, right? If you have someone similar in your niche, I know people don't like the word competitor, but there is definitely people out there in your niche, right? So go into chat groups or Facebook groups or whatever, and book reviews on Amazon in your niche, and read the comments and see what people are asking, right? And get really familiar with your ideal client. And I also am a big fan of doing surveys. I do them through email, and I simply will, put together 5 questions, maybe 6, like keep it short. You're asking people for their time. Ask them your market research questions and say thank you. I always offer them a gift, right? I say to thank you for your time. I will give you I either do a free coffee gift card or I do give them something, and listeners can do this too, give them something that relates to your business and you being able to help them. So for me, that's like a free audit on your homepage or something like that as a copywriter. So that'll look different for you, but I give them the choice to take the coffee or dive deeper into my world. But I always give them something like as a thank you, and keep your questions short. Like you don't want to be questioning people for 20 questions or a half hour on the phone.
Right. No, I love all these great tips because they're definitely like relatable, actionable, and everything like that. So in general, Jenny, how can people find you? How can they work with you if, whether they're looking to create different relationships, build their business, build their brand even, how can they begin?
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. So my website is just my name. It's jennyrothcopywriting.com. And that's where you can find me on Instagram. It's at Jenny Roth Copywriting. And I have a podcast called the Email Marketing Podcast. So we do lots of email marketing, relationship-based copywriting tips and advice over there too.
Awesome. And I've listened to it. So definitely if you're a podcast listener, you definitely want to check it out. Even if you don't have a business, so many of the things you talk about, like I said, it's just about creating relationships, getting over some of our own obstacles when it comes to putting ourselves out there, being in new situations and everything like that. So thank you so much, Jenny, for joining us today and sharing all your tips.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger, as well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much and talk to you soon. Bye.